You're listening to Thursday Night AMP on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
AngryMarks.com pro wrestling and mixed martial arts podcast. My name is Stevie J. Once again, two fine co-hosts joining me on the line, starting with the incredible William Huckabee.
What's going on, people? This has been a spectacular, phenomenal week for professional wrestling, with the exception of anybody who happened to watch Monday Night Raw. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to be in a good mood. I'm in a good mood. I'm ready to do this. Let's go.
We might get into how bad Raw was later, but we do have more fun things to talk about first with our other co-host, the great Sudoku, Jason Harlan.
Speaking of people who never watch Monday Night Raw, hello, Angry Marks, and it was a great week for professional wrestling. It was a great week for Canadian football, too. The Labor Day Classic was amazing. Calgary with a last-second field goal, a walk-off field goal to beat their provincial rivals, the Edmonton Eskimos.
And it was also a good weekend if you were in Chicago, whether you were at StarCast or you were at All In or you were at both. I guarantee you had a good time.
And I have to say this, I haven't enjoyed a pay-per-view this much since the original days of ECW, since like the 90s. This is the best pay-per-view I have seen in about 20 years.
But this was slicker than an ECW pay-per-view, because those old ECW pay-per-views in the 90s were kind of grainy and low budget and kind of bootleg.
And that was part of their charm.
Right, but this was slick. This was like production level of WWE slick, but not WWE level of bullshit.
But it had the same level of fan service and smart fan service that the old ECW had too, and it was the perfect anti-WWE pay-per-view where they gave the fans what they want and they sent the fans home happy instead of thinking they knew better than the fans what the fans want and going against the grain of what fans want. This delivered everything that fans wanted to see.
I have something that relates to that with DDP, but I know Will is chomping at the bit, so go ahead, Will.
I'm very surprised that Jason is giving this pay-per-view the amount of kudos that he is, because while it was a very good, enjoyable show, it was definitely not the best pay-per-view I've seen in recent history. There was some kinks that was to be expected with them throwing them putting together their first show, especially a show of this magnitude. I enjoyed it, but I'm very surprised. It's usually Jason's a lot more.
I usually hate everything. I'm Mikey from the Life cereal commercials. I hate everything.
Exactly.
But no, I like this. There was one match that I didn't really like, but I understand why they went with it. The NWA title match. I'm not the biggest Cody fan. I'm not the biggest NWA fan, but I can understand why they did it. You know, the fans wanted to see it. I understand that there are Cody fans. I understand Cody brought a lot of people, put a lot of asses in seats for this show. I can see why they went with that, but I really thought that Nick Aldis kicking out of the Crossroads and then getting beat by essentially getting sat down upon was just a stupid finish.
All right.
Other than that, I love the entire show.
Before we go all the way through the show and all the results, I want to address the kinks being ironed out that have already been brought up. To me, that seems to have been 90% related to the 0 Hour that aired on WGN America, which had some audio, some technical glitches, but to me, the actual pay-per-view broadcast itself seems just fine, and like I said, this was a slick, multi-camera, high-quality video setup. This was very, very professionally done. This was not, you wouldn't think this was like the first time they'd ever done an event. They clearly got some people working on the boards and working the cameras and working in the sound department that made sure this was professional and smooth, and they ironed out those kinks after the 0 hour.
This was no Triple Mania.
No, it was definitely not. And also, fan service is something that we're going to repeatedly mention during our review of the All-In pay-per-view, which is where I have to start with the over-the-budget Battle Royal, because they definitely did some fan service here.
Oh, my goodness. Did they ever?
Man, look, in my opinion, this definitely should not have been on the pre-show. There were some amazing moments in this pre-show. Shout out and kudos to Jordan Grace.
Oh my God. The way she was squat lifting Brian Cage on her back, that was damned impressive.
She is a beast.
Yes, her face off with Bully Ray, what really popped me and stuff. And I think that kudos to all the guys who was in that match who really, cause, obviously Marco's stunt didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning.
Oh my God, did he get launched by Bully Ray?
Yes, but he had some great, amazing, well-placed spots.
He hung in there. He gave it his all.
All right.
It was a great show out for them too.
Neither of you are mentioning the most important fan service that I think belongs in this discussion, which is Flip Gordon getting into the Battle Royal.
See, that was, to me, and I don't know how Jason feels, but that was almost
telegraphed
because he's lost every other opportunity to be on the show. It was like when I didn't see him in the Battle Royal, but then I saw who I thought was Chico. AKA,
you knew that wasn't Chico. Come on, you knew.
I knew it. That's what I'm saying. When I saw Chico in the Battle Royal, I was like, okay, there's Flip.
And this was something, Stevie, you were talking about on our last show. You were saying, yeah, maybe he'll work his way into the Battle Royal. We said there were two people that were very conspicuous by their absence from being announced for the card, one of which was Flip Gordon, and the other was Joey Ryan.
So,
both showed up.
He found it, and to me, that's fan service, because, as Will just said, this whole season of Being the Elite's been about Flip's trying to find his way on the card. Flip wants to get booked. Flip isn't getting a chance. Flip keeps losing every opportunity. I thought this was the payoff to the storyline. If you're a Being the Elite watcher, this was fan service for you.
I guess as a wrestler and as a former booker and stuff, I almost wish that he wouldn't have been in the Battle Royal and he would have screwed over Cody Rhodes in the NWA title match. Just kind of payback for not giving him thumbs up.
You wanted a Flip heel turn, is what you're saying. That was your payoff to the story.
But I think the fans love Flip so much that it wouldn't have been a heel turn. It would have been Cody getting his just desserts for picking and prodding and poking the bear, so to speak, with Flip Gordon and stuff. And when everybody else wants him on the show, he's just like, nope, sorry, nope. It's not. It's more like the babyface getting their shine back on the heel.
Now, kind of like with Becky Lynch and Charlotte.
You said poking the bear. You weren't making any reference to their bear that's in the Being the Elite crew, right? Just making
the one that did bear. Yes, the one that did make an appearance at All In, which was the most noticeable thing for me, was that there was no bear.
Yeah, there was no Bernard the business bear. He was not booked.
Yeah, so all right, but anyway, yeah, I love the Battle Royal. The Battle Royal was really cool and really overall had no issues with Flip Gordon.
No, I don't either. But anything else that you guys want to say about the 0 hour?
Billy Gunn's son looks a lot like him.
I don't know. Is Austin Idol Billy Gunn's son?
Austin Idol?
Or whatever his name is. Is that his son?
I don't think so. I've never heard that.
I thought that was his son.
No. I think they just have basically the same thing.
The same gimmick.
The tag match was actually pretty good with the Briscoes versus Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky.
That was really interesting. Is you had like the Briscoes as the all out heel team, and then you had SoCal Uncensored who were like the cool heels that the fans just refused to boo.
Right, because they're also aligned with Christopher Daniels, and everybody loves him.
I was not a fan of. I was not too high on Scorpio Sky until this match for some reason. This match, a lot of his actual personality came out. You could see that he was really super athletic. Like, Jesus, he's like the second coming of Shelton Benjamin, in my opinion, as far as like just raw natural athleticism. This is another, I think that this match was a safe match to put on the pre-show and stuff to really get fans interested in what they're going to see later on that night.
The thing that I
Perfect.
liked
Couldn't have
about
been
it,
any better. That was a great curtain jerker.
yeah, and the thing I liked about it is somebody that I used to get a channel that carried championship wrestling from Hollywood. I don't think that channel exists any longer, but I saw a lot of Scorpio Sky on there before a lot of people were really hip to the SoCal Uncensored and who he was, but to me it was like the culmination of a journey, because I'd seen this guy everywhere. Ring of Honor, Wrestling Society X, Championship Wrestling, and now he gets to be on the pre-show of what is legitimately probably the biggest indie pay-per-view in professional wrestling this year. So kudos to him for that long journey paying off here.
Yes. All right, but that was a pre-show. In my opinion, there was another match that should have replaced it, but it's whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, speaking of Bully Ray being eliminated by Flip Gordon in the Battle Royal, though, before we move on, did you see Bully Ray getting punked out in the behind-the-scenes all-in video that they released after the show?
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't check it out.
All right, you guys got to watch that video because it's pretty cool. But we'll move on to the main card where we had another of my longtime indie favorites, a guy that I saw back at IWA Mid-South Ted Petty Invitational over a decade ago, M-Dog 20, Matt Cross, facing...
Son of Havoc.
Yeah, also known as Son of Havoc, facing one of the coolest heels on the scene right now, MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
I think this was a very safe opening match. If this match had to be on the actual main card, this is definitely the way you want to start the show. The only issue I have with this is that I feel like, and I said that on the show on the Wrestling Nerdcast, is that Matt Cross has been wrestling for 20 plus years. He basically, is a indie wrestling legend. I felt like this would have been a good way for him to put over MJF and really raise his stock. And I feel like there was a lot of moments like that on this show where they should have put the other guy over and help build up talent instead of just being safe and letting the vet go over.
Well, we're going to look at it from two different ways because you're looking at it from...
A lot of the time it was like a fan favorite going over as opposed to a heel going over.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say, Jason, is that this is the wrestling booking mentality, which is understandable given that Will is a professional wrestler, and then there's the casual fan or the wrestling fan viewpoint, which is, I really love Matt Cross. I want to see him beat this heel.
And this is the first time that I've gotten to see MJF in the ring, and I like what I saw from him. I don't know if I'm really digging the gimmick or if he's actually grown into the gimmick. What I'd really like to see is when MJF kicks into second gear, when he moves past what he is now and takes that next step, then I'm interested to see what he can do.
Well, he's only been in the business for like 2-3 years, so we all know 2-3 years, he's still very green. Even though he has a lot of experience with more veteran wrestlers and stuff, he's still green. He's still fleshing out his gimmick and who he is as a wrestler. So
a bit of that comes through, but a lot of potential comes through as well.
Exactly. The next 5 to 10 years, we'll really see what he can do.
He almost, when Derek Bateman came over to TNA and became Ethan Carter III, and how it was a little rough at first, but he grew into the character, I kind of get that same feeling with MJF right now, like he's just on the cusp of greatness.
Exactly. Yes, definitely.
All right. And then I mentioned Christopher Daniels earlier, and we had a singles match between him and Stephen Amell, and they each had seconds. The rest of SoCal Uncensored came out with Daniels, whereas Josh Segura came out with Amell. Now, I've heard conflicting opinions about this match. Personally, I thought it was fine, not great, and once again, not upset by the finish. Seeing Christopher Daniels go over is definitely going to make my day because I go all the way back to the first Ring of Honor pay-per-view with him. So, or I guess I should say DVD/VHS tape because I actually had both of those different methods before I ever actually got
I go
to see
way
it.
back to the Curry Man days and Torio Mod in the 90s, and I marked out huge for the Curry Man dance that he busted out early in this match. That was awesome.
Yes, it was good to see it. It even made me queue up a video for our tomorrow news feed where Curry Man's dance and entrance are featured on an Impact Wrestling video. So you'll see that on Twitter a little later, probably after this show.
Amell did a lot better than I thought he would in the ring. I mean, he didn't look crisp. He didn't look like a seasoned veteran, but he pulled off a better match than I thought he would.
I think that athleticism, the fact that he's like, he does his own stunts on Arrow comes through. Go ahead, Will.
I was going to say the same thing. It's like, well, actually, Jason, the way I feel about it, I was very impressed with Armel's performance and stuff, for the simple fact that a lot of times when you get these stars who come from outside of wrestling into a wrestling match, a lot of times they keep it very safe. They don't take a lot of big bumps and bruises. Stephen Armel took an ass whooping in this match. Those chops that Christopher Daniels was giving him was legit. And he took two of the most, even as a wrestler, a coast to coast, and that elbow drop to the outside to the table, that missed elbow drop to the table outside. For a trained professional wrestler, those are high risk, very painful bumps to take and stuff. And for somebody who's not really a trained professional wrestler to take those bumps, I take my hat off to him. For the entire card, in its entirety, based on my expectation to what actually happened, I would say, with that ratio being said, Stephen Armel probably had the best performance of the night, for the simple fact that I didn't expect a lot from him. But the fact that he took a hellacious beating, the fact that he took those bumps, the fact that you can actually tell that he actually trained and took this match serious, really, really impressed me as not only a wrestler, but a fan.
Well, you mentioned something, Will, that I feel like I need to bring up that ties in, because the coast to coast, the crowd had basically that same reaction, like, this guy isn't a wrestler. Is he really going to do this? And you see him get up there and get ready for it, and you're like, oh shit, he really is going to try to hit this move. And the commentary, which I thought was absolutely super for this, hearing the guys mark out Excalibur and Don Callis and Ian Riccaboni, they just gushed over how beautiful it was to see him do this. I think one of them might have even said, "Shades of Rob Van Dam," and I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yes, they did.
Don Callis said that, yeah.
I'm so glad they mentioned that and not Shane McMahon, because that was the Van Terminator before it was a Shane McMahon move.
And who better than Cyrus the Virus to make that comment after all?
Another ECW original.
Indeed. So this was another fun match, followed by even yet another fun match. We had Tessa Blanchard in a fatal four-way defeating Chelsea Green, Madison Rayne, and Britt Baker, with the added
biggest
bonus
pop of the night came during this
Magnum
match.
TA and Tully Blanchard come out with Tessa. I popped too.
My biggest pop actually didn't come from that. My biggest pop came from the music that Britt Baker came out to.
Yes.
She came out to the old school Adam Cole, Matt Taven, Michael Bennett, Kingdom ROH theme. It was like, I just marked out. I heard the music. I'm like, I'm not hearing this. Oh my God, yes I am. She's using Adam Cole's music. Awesome.
I also liked Chelsea Green with her half one color, half the other psycho outfit and her wedding veil and her messed up makeup. I was marking out for that.
Like, kind of like half the TNA gimmick and half the indie gimmick.
Exactly. It was like the perfect combination. I'm like, Chelsea, you are winning me over here. I love your look.
But... And they called her the hot mess, and damned if she didn't pull that gimmick off to a T.
Right. But Tessa Blanchard, well, speaking of pulling off gimmicks before you go in, well, I just want to say her gimmick of being the diamond, not just her costume, but everything about it, she lives it. She is so good.
Oh yeah, like this match right here is the reason why I tell a lot of people that I don't like following female wrestling matches now. Like these ladies had a point to prove. Like Jesus, this was a hellacious, amazing match.
How about the Canadian Destroyer?
Yes, I want to say the Canadian Destroyer was like, they're like, oh Jesus,
good or better than any we ever saw from Scott Steiner's protege back in TNA.
I tell you what, man, like, I felt really bad. So I was like, while this match was going on, I was just like, who the hell is going to follow this? I was like, because these ladies are really taking it there. Like, I don't know if anybody told them that, hey, go all out. I don't know if they had a point to prove to the females of WWE to let them know that, hey, just because we're not, at WWE doesn't mean anything, or, hey, the women's revolution also includes us. I'm not sure, but damn, this wasn't. Overall, this was definitely my top 3 favorite matches.
Well, Chelsea,
I wouldn't be surprised
before
if you
the
saw
match,
3 of the 4 of these women in WWE in the near future.
Right. Well, she could definitely be one of them. And she said before this match in an interview that we're going to go out there and we're going to have a 5-star match. And people were poo-pooing and, yeah, sure, whatever. But they really went out there and if they didn't have a 5, they had a 4 and then some.
I mean, Tessa is always on her own level, but I have to give a lot of credit to Chelsea Green in this match, who just brought it and brought it and brought it.
She had her working boots on big time. Go ahead, Will.
I'm about to say, like, I think that we're all forgetting that Madison Rayne was in this match, and and it almost feels like to me like she did a great job, like, you know, being the ring general in this match and putting together the psychology for this match without being making sure that she looked good, but not being selfish and making sure all four ladies in this match shine. Like, and she looks so amazing. Like, you can tell she's been working out, she's been hitting the gym. She, you know, for coming off the Mae Young Classic, man, like this was a great move to make right after appearing in the Mae Young Classic for her.
Well, Will, you always seem to chastise me anymore when I say something cosmetic, so I'm gonna just do the same thing right here to you. Like, she'd be great whether she hit the gym or not.
No, I'm saying as far as she looked lean, she literally looked bad.
You're saying you're digging deeper.
I'm sorry. I'm saying she totally looked badass. That's what I'm trying to say, is that I'm not saying like if she wasn't lean or whatever that she would be badass, but she really looked badass. Like she meant business, Saturday night. I was totally impressed with everything that she did.
To me, when I think of hit the gym, that's what I think when I look at Tessa Blanchard. I'm like, she is muscular, she is strong, she is toned, she is a fitness goddess right now.
Definitely.
All right, we move on from there to the NWA World Heavyweight title match between Nick Aldis, who was accompanied to the ring by Jeff Jarrett, Samuel Shaw, Sean Daivari, and the former champion Tim Storm, and Cody was accompanied by, this one really surprised me, Glacier, Diamond Dallas Page, his wife Brandy, and the hardcore legend Tommy Dreamer.
Just look at the entourages. That tells you all you need to know about who won this match.
And don't forget his father-in-law was there as well. And the reason why Glacier was there is because he had just did the Dusty Rhodes Scholarship Fund, I think, at Glacier School down in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
So
there's family ties. I knew there was a reason for it, but it was
that and Glacier was like Dusty Rhodes' protege or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, Glacier was supposed to be a really big deal. It wasn't supposed to be the comical thing that it eventually turned into.
Yeah.
But
I really like the UFC style entrances with the entourage here. It was a nice touch.
Yeah, they did a lot of that during this pay-per-view, and again, that's when I say the presentation was slick and polished because they thought about this, and they didn't just send people out. They made people look like total superstars when they entered.
Although if you're Nick Aldis and your entourage is Jeff Jarrett, Sean Daivari, and Tim Storm, man, I'm sorry for you, Nick.
Well, you got two former world champions in that bunch, Jeff Jarrett and Tim Storm, so that's something.
I like them.
He could have had David Arquette. There's a former champion, too.
All right. But now,
this was out of all the matches that was on this card, this was the wrong match to put after that winning match.
I very much disagree, but go ahead, Will.
After that exciting knockout drag-out fight those ladies gave us, they gave us this match.
I agree with you, Will.
Ooh, I'm going to be the odd man out then, but go ahead.
Yes, you are. And it just wasn't what I consider a championship wrestling match. It felt very safe. There was no passion. There was no, and I understand like Cody was busted up and tried to do the whole Crimson Mask thing, but there was no intensity. Even with that spot, there was no intensity to it. And then my biggest pet peeve, which is my biggest pet peeve of the whole show, is that Brandy, you know, she sacrifices herself, and I'm putting that in air quotes, sacrifices herself, and takes this hellacious elbow drop off the top rope from Nick Aldis, rolls out the ring and literally doesn't really sell it. At the end of the match, she's standing up there watching. In my opinion, and I may be wrong, and you know, Mika on the Wrestling Nerdcast told me I was wrong and stuff. They should have carried her out. A 240-pound man jumps off the top rope and lands in the small of your back, and you're a 120-pound female. You should be done for the rest of the night. If they knew they were going to do that spot, they should have did the Flip Gordon match before this match.
All right.
I agree. I think that would have been a better match to follow the women's match too, with all the comedy. We'll get to that match in a bit, but with the comedy that was there, that other title match would have been a better fit after the women's match. But yeah, I really didn't like the finish to the NWA match. You had Nick Aldis kick out of a crossroads to get pinned by getting sat on.
Y'all are just killing me here because not only could not disagree more, I have to even disagree with the assessment of the finish because there are so many things I want to mention about this. First of all, I did tease DDP having a spot involved that was fan service a little earlier. There was some interference in the middle of this match where the towel was being prepared to be thrown in, and DDP took exception to that, ran out to the ring, hit a diamond cutter, and then left. So the fans got their
on Sean
pop.
Daivari.
Exactly. They got to see Sean Daivari take the diamond cutter, sell it like $1 million, and it was not the finish, and it was not involved in the main event finish of the match. It was just, okay, here's a spot, we'll hit it, we'll get out, now back to business. So the fans got their pop. They got fan service out of that. Plus,
I could watch Sean Daivari take a diamond cutter 7 days out of the week.
Absolutely. He sells it beautifully, and DDP still hits it smoothly. So thumbs up to both of them for that. And I actually like the finish being the simple counter into a sit-out, powerbomb, roll-up, whatever you want to say, because I thought, hey, you know what?
It wasn't a powerbomb. He just sat on him.
Okay, sunset flip counter, then whatever you want to say. Can I just make my point here? I like the fact that it came down to such a brutal match that they had busted on each other. Cody was bleeding. They were both tired. They'd gone over 20 minutes. Cody had thrown out the disaster kick, didn't get the pin. He'd hit the crossroads, he didn't get the pin. I thought it was just beautifully poetic that it came down to a simple counter, did not have some spectacular, gorgeous, beautiful execution of a finisher, but just a simple wrestling move, a counter for a pin. To me, that
in
was
1946, maybe.
But this is they just talked about the 75-year history of the NWA title in the build-up to this match and on commentary during the match. So to me, that is exactly correct.
And Luthez was great in his day, but wrestling has evolved since then. I'm sorry.
But everything about this was designed to be an old-school throwback. They had the past champions out there. They talked about the prestige and the lineage of the NWA World's Heavyweight title. They did everything to remind you that this is old school, and then they gave you an old-school finish. So kudos, bravo, I love it.
Better than a dusty finish, but...
No, I would say this, Stevie. Here's my opinion. Once again, this is the booker, the wrestling booker coming out in me. Because I disagree with you. There was no intensity to this match. There wasn't even the feeling of, I'm a better wrestler than you and I'm going to prove it, feel to this match. To me, it felt like, hey, we're going to pass this over to Cody for one reason or another. I'm not going to get into that. As a wrestler and as a booker, what I would have done was I would have completely not given the fans what they wanted to and built this up because with them selling out this venue in less than 30 minutes, there's definitely going to be a sequel to this show. So with that being said, I would have had Cody lose this match. I would have had Nick Aldis, being that this was he said several times this was his biggest challenge as the NWA World Champion. And on Being the Elite, well, not Being the Elite, but on all of the NWA YouTube videos, he comes across as very killish. Yes. On Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, he comes across as a very cocky, arrogant heel. I would have had him go over in the dirtiest of ways possible. He would have hit him with brass knuckles. Literally, Jason, I would have had him hit him with
I like
brass.
it. Champion's Gauntlet. Yeah, Champion's Advantage. I
would have had Jeff Jarrett come out, throw powder in his eyes, hit him with some brass knucks, pull the tights, and then grab the ropes at the same damn time.
I'll put it this way. When I saw Nick Aldis kick out of the crossroads, what I thought was, okay, here's the finish, and I wish they had gone with this finish. I'm like, Cody's going to hit a bionic elbow, and that's going to be it. But no. That would have been a better way to end the match than by just sitting on him.
Will, I have to ask, you're putting on your wrestling booker hat, and I want to ask you a question. Was this the wrong finish for this crowd, given the way they reacted and the emotional reception that it got?
Yes, this was definitely, this was a very smart crowd.
I think that is why it works, because this was what the crowd wanted.
This crowd loves Cody so much. I mean, they would have cheered if Cody did the Joey Ryan dick flip and won the match. Any way Cody's going to win this match, they would have popped for her.
Which they did pop for the Joey Ryan dick flip. But I feel like sometimes you have to look to the future, especially when this is not going to be a one-off show, and they should have booked it for them.
We're just going to have to agree to disagree then, but since we're talking about dick flips, we might as well move on because somebody came out after the Joey Janela Hangman Page match. But first of all,
let's talk about the match first.
Yeah, let's talk about the match first. And may I just say, Penelope Ford, I cannot get
my
enough of
God.
her. She is something else.
She injected herself into the match, and oh my goodness, some of the shit she hit Hangman Page with looked like it hurt.
Mm-hmm.
She launched herself at him time and again.
I went out of my way to look
sell
for
it.
her stuff on the internet after this. I looked up matches from Beyond Wrestling, and I just gushed over how good she was.
I don't know if she was selling. I mean, she was selling. She was doing a good job. If not, I'm sorry she got hurt. But my goodness, you could see her holding her ribs after some of those shots she gave to some of those cross bodies she gave Hangman Page.
And anybody that wants to complain about it, it was a street fight, so everything is legal. She could do as much shit as she wanted.
I actually enjoyed this match. I feel like the placement was wrong for this match. This is another one of those matches where it was placed in the wrong part of the show.
See, I actually would have done this one before the Cody match, so I agree with you there.
Yeah, definitely. This also with I understand once again they had to put Adam Page somewhere on the show. But I felt like somebody else would have worked better against Joey Janela in this match instead of Adam Page.
Except the whole gimmick is Adam hates all people named Joey. Joey Janela, Joey Ryan, Joey Styles. It doesn't matter. If you're named Joey, you're on his shit list.
Oh, how about that finish through the table off the ladder?
Brutal. Totally brutal.
Oh, damn.
I thought, but you know what? With Joey Janela being the guy who got thrown off a top of a building into a truck bed full of glass tubes and barbed wire and all other crazy shit, like, that was actually pretty tame for Joey Janela.
That's saying something when that spot is tame.
Well, the reason that was tame is because what came after the match was not, including, and I cannot believe I'm using this phrase on a wrestling podcast, inflatable penises.
Yeah, there was a procession of phalluses.
Yeah, I call it the phalanx of phallic, whatever, you know what I'm saying.
The phalanx of phalluses.
Yes, that phrase right there. My country tongue can't pronounce those words.
Which was all to bring Joey Ryan literally back from the dead.
Yes. Funny spot. I thought it was funny. And of course, once again, the fans love all things Joey Ryan. I love all things Joey Ryan. I think he's an amazing person away from the wrestling ring. So
super
I really
nice
have no
too.
with that. Yeah, like I have no complaints whatsoever with that happening and stuff during the show.
You knew it was going to happen too. I mean, him and Flip Gordon, that's what Stevie and I were talking about last week, that they were very conspicuous by their absence of not being on the card and that they would show up.
And this was another case of fan service. This was paying off a storyline from being the Elite. And God damn it, this is why I love this all-in pay-per-view, because they build things up and then they pay them off and give you what you want. How the fuck can WWE consistently not do that week after week with millions of dollars and the best minds in the business and all the greatest talent, and they're being shown up by this indie company putting on their very first ever show?
What that tells me is that these guys want your money. WWE has so much money, they don't need your money. They don't care. They don't care what you want. They don't care that you give them your money. They've got enough money, they're going to do what they want.
I guess so. Well, we will move on to Jay Lethal coming out with Lenny Poffo, but not just that.
He got slapped on the shoulder first.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell the story?
Of sunglasses.
Original Macho Man shades. They were actually provided. Yeah. There's a great story behind this. A fan contacted Lenny Poffo and said he had the shades that he had bought in an auction at some point and asked him if he wanted to use them. And then Lenny said, I could do you one better. I'm going to give them to Macho Man and he's going to use them. We're going to have Macho Lethal. And they said, okay, I'll loan them to you for the show.
That was probably my favorite entrance of the show. Hands down, Joey.
Not only the entrance, but just the callbacks to WrestleMania's past that they did.
Yeah, all the Miss Elizabeth spots. Those were just beautiful.
You know what else I talked about was that Lanny Poffo had the frisbee.
yes, he did.
Because as a kid, yes, as a kid, I always wanted one of those frisbees, and I never got one.
Yeah,
and the one show I worked with Lanny Poffo, he didn't have any frisbees.
Well, I'm trying to get him booked here on our Thursday Night AMP podcast, so maybe when I get that done, I can get you a Frisbee.
Word. But no, this match was really good. I like Jay Lethal. The first half when he was the Macho Man, the Black Machismo.
Before he kind of got like conked on his head and then he got knocked back into being Jay Lethal again.
Yeah. For people who are like old school wrestling fans who grew up watching the Macho Man, you will realize that Jay Lethal had to have been watching Macho Man matches for hours, because everything he did, from the fact, little small subtle things that people don't realize, like the fact that Randy Savage never stood flat footed, and no matter what, he always kind of walked on the balls of his feet to make himself look taller. To the way that he would whip guys into the ropes and stuff when he gave somebody an Irish whip, where he would grab by the back of their head and stuff and push them, basically by the back of their head. Like, everything that he did as Macho Man was spot on. And as a wrestling fan, I loved it so much.
Even more details I can add to that, to the way that Jay Lethal, when he's playing Black Machismo, the way he pivots around just looks and feels like the way Macho Man used to turn around in the ring and let his tassels blow in the breeze.
Exactly. And I love the Miss Elizabeth spot with Brandy, where he jumped off the ring and walked her from one corner to another. And he's like, stay over here. And she's like, I'm not Elizabeth. And he's like, stay over here. Like, all of those spots made, as a wrestling fan, I popped so hard for them.
Fan service. Can I just say it again? Fan fucking service. They
and
gave it to us.
This is the match that should have followed that women's match. This is the title match that should have been directly after that women's four-way.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Jake. Like, this should have been after the women's four-way. Not a horrible match. Not either one of those, not the best performance for either one of the gentlemen, but it was a good, solid match.
And how about Flip Gordon hulking up?
Yeah.
I was mad that he didn't do the leg drop.
Oh.
Yeah, he did everything but, he did the big boot, but not the leg drop.
Well, if he'd done the leg drop, he would have won. That's why he couldn't do the leg drop.
I was so mad that he didn't do the leg drop. But no, it was a good, safe match. It had a lot of comedy, had a lot of great acting on both guys' parts, as Macho Man, as Hulk Hogan stuff. It was just put in the wrong spot on the card for them.
All right. Well, then we got a match that was not comedy, but was still fan service. Kenny Omega and Pentagon Dark.
This was my match of the night. This was the main event.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
Jason, I'm so disappointed in you, Jason.
Oh my goodness! That package driver that Pentagon Jr. gave Kenny Omega on the ring apron. Ouch!
Hard.
And then Omega repaid the favor in the center of the ring with he did Pentagon move to him in the center of the ring. It just looked like he landed on the back of his head and his neck. Oh damn!
Yeah, I was thinking, snap your finger, snap your neck.
Another ECW theme there.
Exactly. Like I said before, it was flashbacks to ECW, but not in the gritty production, but just in the terms of they give you what you want to see.
Okay. Are both of y'all done?
Yeah.
So this was my least favorite match.
Oh no! Really?
When I put it on that ratio, once again, to my expectations, to what they actually did, this was my least favorite match. Jason, which is why I'm so surprised that Jason was so big on this match, because I felt like we didn't get the best bout machine. We got house show Kenny Omega doing house show Kenny Omega stuff. I felt like we didn't get, big league, Penta. We got, hey, I'm doing.
I don't know. I mean, we got like 60,000 V triggers to Pentagon Jr. I'm just going to call him Pentagon Jr. Fuck calling him Penta L Dark Zero, whatever the fuck his name is.
It was just not, like I said, when I thought that this match was going to be to quote Alon, a 5-star match, and it really wasn't. There were times during the match I felt like Penta was a step behind, like maybe because they were in Chicago, these guys that went out partying and stuff or stayed up too late, and he was just a step behind for some spots, and other spots, it was like he tried to catch up and he went past the speed. He was going too fast and had to slow down. It just felt all over this match just felt all over the place for me and stuff. There was really not a lot of cohesiveness whatsoever. I understand this is probably the first time these two guys have met up, but there was really no real chemistry for me whatsoever. I was completely disappointed in this.
I liked it. See, as a fan of both wrestlers, it was a treat to see them both in the ring. They both seemed to be on even footing. Kenny Omega didn't outclass Penta. Penta didn't upstage Kenny Omega. There were some beautiful ring dives. There were some hard hitting moves. I thought
I'm a fan of both. I'm a fan of both. I'm a fan of both these guys, and I felt like this was going to be a match of one-upmanship, and it just wasn't.
All
It
right.
felt like we got house show Kenny.
Will, if you weren't a fan of the match itself, how did you feel about the post-match angle?
Okay, so the only problem I had was that the lights were off way too freaking long. Oh my goodness! Like the lights went out, and it's like, oh snap, what's about to happen?
And they stayed out.
And they stayed out. And I'm like, are we having a
To the
rematch?
point where the commentators are saying, yeah, we probably should have paid that electric bill.
Except I kind of enjoyed that. I liked Don Callis doing that. It was a throwback to the network. It was like, oh, well, these things happen when you don't pay the bills. I should know.
Roller jam.
Yeah, but like, besides the fact that that the lights were off a little too long, I was happy that Jericho made an appearance because he's been saying for the last several months that he would never wrestle out of respect for Vince McMahon. He would never wrestle or appear in a wrestling ring or in the United States unless it was a WWE show. So that was a great surprise, even though a lot of people kind of knew that he would be there.
Everything that he says on social media is a lie.
Right.
Now let me ask you guys this question, because as of now he's the IWGP Intercontinental Champion. So why would he attack the heavyweight champion unless they're going to do a Ultimate Warrior Hulk Hogan 2-man into 1-man lead?
No, they're doing a match on the Jericho Cruise. This is for the Cruise.
Okay. Well, I thought the match on the Cruise was a 6-way.
I don't think so. I think it's just a one-on-one match now between the two of them.
I mean, you're looking really far down the road if you're looking at it in New Japan. You're looking at after Wrestle Kingdom at this point.
Well, I am, but I just didn't understand why he attacked him. But now that you say that, Stevie, okay, that makes sense. Although I thought it was supposed to be a 6-man with the Bucks of Jericho or the Y2J versus the Golden Elite and Marty or something like that. Or Cody Rhodes, I'm sorry, but I guess I'm wrong. I guess they changed it.
I mean, it could be. I'm not saying it can't be, but I know Jericho at the end of the whole thing said, "See you at the Cruise."
Yeah, so I don't know. But I love the fact that Jericho was there in full Penta gear.
I was gonna say though, that was the one dead giveaway is when the lights came back on, it was like, okay, that's Jericho.
Pentagon Jr. has lost about half of his arm tattoos.
Exactly. It was like, okay, that's way too fucking obvious it's Jericho, but I still popped for it.
Even Don Callis said that. Yeah, even Don Callis on commentary mentioned the fact that he was missing tattoos and stuff.
And at least Jericho had a lot less trouble taking off the Pentagon gear than he did taking off the Bushi gear.
Yeah, and furthermore, can I just add that this is why I love Don Callis on commentary on this show, because unlike the WWE announcers on Monday Night Raw, he doesn't treat us like fucking idiots. We notice that Penta doesn't have his tattoos, and Don says the exact same thing. Thank you.
And as somebody who intentionally doesn't watch Don Callis on New Japan shows, I had no complaints at all about the commentary for this show. I enjoyed the commentary.
I told you, Jason, Don Callis is really good, man. I try to tell you that.
He's good. He's no Shinpei Nogami, but he's good.
He's darn good.
Speaking
of darn good, Kazuka Okada and Marty Scurll.
This was fun. This
match
was so
of the
much
night.
fun.
26 minutes of balls to the wall.
Gotta love that 205 taught and Marty Scurll says, I'm gonna break your fingers for that.
match of the night.
And I love this because this is something that we would never get to see in New Japan. We would never get to see a junior heavyweight take on Kazuchika Okada. It just wouldn't happen.
No, we still Will Ospreay versus Okada.
Yeah, that's kind of an interfaction thing there, but I don't think we'd ever see Marty Scurll versus Okada one-on-one in a New Japan ring. So it was a treat to see it here.
It was.
And it was a treat to see Okada taunting the lighter Marty Scurll.
And by the way, for anybody who has been accusing Marty Scurll of taking the match too long and ignoring the cues from the producers, he has firmly denied that in a post-show interview and said, no, our match went 1 minute over. The entire show was 14 minutes over.
Well, can I say for
That's
that?
Kazuchika Okada. He's in the United States. He doesn't come here all that often.
Can I say this was, in my opinion, match of the night. And whether they went 14 minutes over or not, this match was one of those times where the match was so good, you should be allowed to go over. And it's okay. The only gripe I have about this match is that for a brief second, I thought that, well, for the majority of the match, I thought that Marty might have a chance to actually win this. He might actually pull it off. Until like maybe the last 60 seconds, maybe the last minute or two, when it became kind of obvious that Marty was going to lose. But they did a wonderful job with this match. I love how they teased him really trying to pick up Okada. They played the size and weight difference to a perfect T. Everything about this match was beautiful, man. I have nothing really bad to say. I'm just kind of nitpicking now.
And we were in Chicago and we had Okada bucks raining down from the ceiling. It was beautiful.
Which actually became dangerous later because people started slipping on them.
Can I say that I'm very glad that we didn't get balloon handing out Okada, that we got Rainmaker?
Yeah,
Okada.
it was he had the jacket back on. He didn't have the balloons. He still had the Kool-Aid hair, but he didn't have the balloons or the gear he was wearing as Okada Reborn. He came as Rainmaker Okada.
Which actually, both of these guys promised that before this match. They said, this is a serious match. We're not going out here to clown around.
Oh man, this was the match of the night. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, Jason. This was the match of the night.
I mean, it was what I expected. I saw more from Omega and Pentagon Jr.
All right.
I don't know.
I enjoyed that match more, but this was a fun match. Not to take anything away from this match, because I love this match too.
Main event time, the Golden Elite, the trio of Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, and Kota Ibushi, defeating Rey Mysterio, Rey Fenix, and the highly underrated but super fucking awesome Bandito.
Rey Mysterio came dressed like Wolverine.
I am so glad that the casual wrestling fan and the smart marks of America have been introduced to Bandito. I am a huge Lucha Libre fan, and I've been high on this guy for years, and I'm so glad that.
Did you get to work with him while you were in Mexico?
No, I did not. Actually, I got to train and work out with him and stuff, but I didn't get to actually have a match with him. But I definitely got to pick his brain and work out with him and get some tips and stuff as far as Lucha Libre goes. This match was really, really good. Probably shouldn't have been. I don't know if it was with after the two matches before it. I don't know if.
It didn't quite have that main event feel to it.
I don't know.
Match, but...
Well, it was because some of their time got cut. No matter what went long or what was wrong, they got cut from like 25 to 12 minutes. So they had to go all through their spots.
I don't care who it is, Stevie. It's going to be hard no matter who you have in there to put over a 6-man tag team match as a main event.
I agree, but I also think in that position,
logistics.
In that position, given that style, I thought they did all of the good spots that you would want to see, including a one-on-one face-off with Kota and Rey going at it. And even if it was only for like a minute or so, that was
it was still fun to watch.
It was a beautiful minute.
Yes, it was. I think when you have 6 guys in the ring in 12 minutes, you really don't need more than that. You know, there's not enough time for all of these guys to get blown up. You got 6 guys, you can go balls to the wall and stuff for 12 minutes with 6 guys in the ring. I love the stand-up between Kota Ibushi and Rey Mysterio. Phoenix, we all know that Phoenix is amazing. You know what I'm saying?
And he flew during this match. I mean, some of those dives he hit, he hit them, he got too much air on them.
I love the modified bang for your buck. I don't know if you guys picked that up.
That was sweet with Kota Ibushi in there too, yeah.
Yes, I love the modified bang for your buck. I really didn't like the finish with the Meltzer driver, actually.
Except that was the finish for this crowd that they wanted to see. Because Dave was there.
I would have liked to have seen maybe a double Meltzer driver. You know what I'm saying? With the Buck holding, and then or with Matt and Kota holding somebody in the power driver, and then here comes Nick with the front flip and the double Meltzer driver. I would have liked that a lot more than it just.
Damn, that would have been hardcore.
All I know is the referee counted 1, 2, 3, and the pay-per-view ended.
The place erupted in the.
They were that close to running out of time, so they got it in right away.
Yeah, they did. I think this is probably why WWE bought extra time just in case.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they do this again, they should really work something out or, have their own stream where they don't have to worry about going over. Just run it as long as you need to run it.
Well, actually, they did work something out because they were told to get off the air by 9:57, and they were like, can we have a minute more, please? Can we take this all the way up to the last minute? And they were like, okay, you get out of here at the last minute, and we're good. So they did get a little extra time.
That's, not what I'm talking about, though. I'm saying,
you're saying they need like a 30-minute overrun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, they went over the budget for the Battle Royals, so they couldn't afford another 30 minutes.
Yeah, or do some kind of iPay-per-view where you don't have to worry about that, where you're controlling the broadcast medium or renting it from somebody, and you don't have to worry about running over. You can go until it's over.
Well,
Go
thankfully, I didn't even have those issues because I waited and I watched the replay on New Japan World since I'm already paying for it, so I just waited.
That's exactly what I did. I will say this though. Overall, on the grading scale, I would give this show a B to maybe a strong B, maybe a weak B plus. Different booking decisions, different match placements, technical difficulties, the audio and stuff, and it would have been an A plus show for me.
I will give it a strong B plus to an A minus. I think there were things that could have been done in a different order that would have made for a better presentation, but the fan service was on point, the storylines were on point, the finishes were on point, and I didn't hate anything, and that's rare.
And I'll give this one an A. This one had me wondering, is this what some of the New Japan shows are like for the Japanese crowd when they do fan service for Japanese fans in New Japan that I just don't get or can't get behind? Is this kind of the equivalent for the American Smart Mark?
I would have to think so, yeah.
Because this from beginning to end, as I said, I haven't seen a pay-per-view this good, since ECW, since the 1990s. This was the perfect anti-WWE pay-per-view in every way possible.
Oh, and boy, was it ever, because I watched WWE Raw after I watched All In, and I got more and more angry with every passing minute.
Jason, let me tell you how mad Jason, him telling you this does not fully grasp how pissed off he was. So we have the Wrestling Nerdcast, we have a Facebook Messenger group and stuff, and CW and CDJ were talking about Raw, and literally CDJ left our group and said, I need 3 to 4 days to cool off. Like, it was like CDJ has left the group, and I was like, what the hell happened?
I was so hot at Raw, I just couldn't talk about it anymore. I needed to just step out of the room. So please invite me back in.
Like Jason, he needed a cool off period because of Monday Night Raw.
So what pissed you off so badly about Raw, Stevie?
The commentary was just a new level of insufferable that I have not heard in ages. And perhaps it was how good that Ian Riccaboni, Don Callis, and Excalibur were by comparison. But listening to the three-man crew on Raw, and I'm not saying man as in gender, I'm saying three persons, but Renee Young is not helping in this situation because she cannot combat the idiocy of the other two. And hearing things come out of Michael Cole's mouth like, nobody expected this, nobody saw it coming. You fucking tool. Everybody expected this. You announced Shawn Michaels a week ago. Everybody saw this coming. And then to hear Corey Graves back it up with, this is one of the biggest moments in the history of Raw. No, it isn't, you fucking idiot. Shut the fuck up.
He told you, Jason. Told you. Like, and now imagine that in like text form. And that was
I believe I started channeling James Rolfe because I was like, it fucks a duck, it ducks a fuck, and boy does it fucking suck.
I thought for a whole second that Jason had hacked your Facebook.
No, the Angry Video Game Nerd hacked my account. He took over my spirit, and I channeled. I let the anger flow.
Jason, there was so much vitriol in his comments and some of his messages that I literally had to keep checking to make sure it was CD messaging and not his. Like,
tonight, the part of Fred Fox will be played by Michael Cole.
I think it got off to a wrong foot very early on during Raw when I saw the Bella Twins come out, and I was like, oh my God.
So like, I wasn't even watching Raw.
Did they play Remode too?
If they did, I blocked it out of my memory because I'd have a hernia
that would
and
just
an
be the
aneurysm.
icing on the shit cake there.
Yeah, I blocked out any memory of what they actually came out to because it would make me too mad. I'd black out.
Like, I guess Brie Bella missed Sue Dives horribly.
Oh, she watched Matthew Botchamania was salivating watching.
So like somebody messaged me and was like, Will, I think Brie Bella just stole your gimmick. And then I was like, what the hell? And I went and watched, and I was like, oh, that looks really, really bad.
It was god awful. And the fact that Brie and Nikki are going to be the stars of this Evolution pay-per-view makes me cringe.
Did you
Kind of
really
like
take
Stephanie was the star of the invasion. Are you surprised?
All right, on to better things. On to something else before Steve story.
Yeah, stop the anger before I hulk out, please. This was 3 hours of, it got so bad, I turned it off and watched Adventure Time.
Oh God, that's really bad.
I was more interested in seeing the finale of that show and seeing what happened to Jake and Finn, and I don't even watch that show on a normal basis, but I knew it was the finale, and I was like, fuck this fucking Raw, I'll watch the rest of it later, I'm gonna go watch Adventure Time.
And I know it's bad if you said you turned it off for the 5th season of Sliders.
Well, if Sliders had been on, I would have done that.
Well, what else? We have the destruction show coming up.
You mean unlike the destruction of every baby face in WWE with this stupid heel angle they did at the end of the fucking show?
I was trying to change the subject.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm still mad about it. It's like, this is the shittiest version of NWO they've ever shitted. But go on. Destruction in Japan.
Okay, we have what Jason likes to call the horrible time in New Japan between the G1 and Wrestle Kingdom, where nothing makes sense, and it's a bunch
Oh my God! Do you remember last year's destruction in Fukushima? Oh,
I
God,
still think that's
horrible.
an inappropriate name, but I'm just me.
As long as Tai Chi is on the show, I'm happy.
You know what? If Tai Chi was on Raw, he couldn't have saved that show.
Tai Chi could save anything.
He would have fit right in.
Oh, that's a low blow. That's a kick to the balls right there.
That was just rude. That was rude. But no, so we got the destruction shows coming up. The 7th, 8th,
Friday.
All weekend.
So
Your boy Chase Owens is going to be there.
I know. You know what? And like I said before, there's a lot of people in New Japan. Chase Owens, Jay White, Juice Robinson, who over the last year their stock has really risen, and they've really taken advantage of the spot and the places that they've been put on these cards. For the longest time, I was like, we all felt like, okay, with Chase Owens is, if he's in the match with somebody from Bullet Club, he's going to be the guy that takes the pin. But he's really, really started growing in that role in New Japan and stuff of, I guess, being the team Bullet Club. That I love the fact that they're giving him more responsibility and stuff when it comes to the show. So the fact that he was the G1 tag team partner for Adam Page and Kenny Omega throughout the entire tour. So I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do with him now.
Will, you might need to get a little bit closer to your phone.
Oh, is that better?
That's a little better. All right, I've got the cards for all 3 shows if you guys want me to run it down.
Yeah, we can run them down. I'm hearing an echo from you, Stevie.
Oh, testing 1, 2. Is it still echoing now?
A little bit, but not as bad.
Okay. On September 7th at Korakuen Hall, we've got the Golden Lovers versus Tomohiro Ishii and Will Ospreay. We've got Hiroshi Tanahashi, Togi Makabe, and Tomoaki Hanma versus Kazuchika Okada, Toru Yano, and Yoshihashi. We've got
Please don't do a Kokeshi. Please don't do a Kokeshi.
Yeah, no Kokeshis for you, Hanma. Tetsuya Naito, Evil, Sonata, and Bushi versus Misu, Izuki, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and El Desperado. So your favorite useless wrestler, Kanemaru.
King of boring style, Yoshinobu Kanemaru.
And followed by Haruki Goto, your second least favorite, teaming with Gato, your least favorite Beard, versus Will's favorite, Taichi, and Taka Michinoku. Then we have...
Taka's one of my favorites ever, though. So
yes,
there you go.
Trent Beretta versus Toa Inare. Then we have Juice Robinson, Elgin Finley, and Yoshida versus Fale Tamatanga, Tonga Loa, and Ishimori. And
that is a weird team. You got Taiji Ishimori teaming with the Tongans.
Yeah, that is a little strange, but theoretically this is also strange. The main event, if I'm reading this right, is Chase Owens and Takahashi.
No, you're going backwards. That's
versus Ren Narita and Shota Umino. Okay, so the Golden Lovers is the main event.
Yeah, Golden Lovers is the main event.
That's what I would have thought, because I was reading that. I'm like, that can't fucking be the right order.
Yeah, Golden Lovers versus Ishii and Ospreay is your main event, and yeah, Chase Owens and Artis Lees are opening things up against two of the young boys there.
That makes much more sense. Will, your
El
thoughts?
Hijo de Red Shoes.
Oh, I'm just happy that Tachi is doing the show. I'm glad that, he's teaming up with Taka. I'm glad that Chase is on the show. I have no idea why they have to see the boy style on this. I don't understand how he still has a job. Ugh.
All right. On the 8th at Korakuen Hall, this time I'm going to go from the bottom up and assume that is the correct order. So we start with Shota Umino and Yuya Uemura versus Ren Narita and Yota Tsuji. So kind of the young
That's
lions.
got to be right, because that's 4 young lions right there. Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm looking on the New Japan official site. That is the opening match
All right.
for the second Road 2 show.
Then I'm going in the correct order now. So next up we have Yoshida versus Chase Owens. Then we have
a singles match for Chase.
Yeah, that's a good spot for him. Second on the card too. I like that. So followed by Togi Makabe, Michael Elgin, Finley, and Hanare versus the Tongans with Ishimori.
Well, Ishimori makes his return back to New Japan. Yay!
Mm-hmm. And apparently not as Bone Soldier.
Well, no.
They do have his name as Taiji Ishimori. We'll see if he comes out as Bone Soldier again with the mask and everything.
Yeah, well, since he's aligned with the OGs, I have to think not. But anyway, from there we go on to Haruki Goto and Yoshihashi versus Taichi and Kanemaru.
Oh,
what a pairing. A match made in hell right there.
Thank you, Tachi, for being on this. Thank you, Tachi, for saving this match.
Oh yeah, Kanemaru is the lead balloon here holding Taichi down.
Yeah, it's something when Taichi's in a tag team and he's like the person I only hate second most on that team.
Mm-hmm. Then we have the Los Ingobernables faction versus Misu Iizuka, Despi, and Michinoku.
That should be a good one.
Should be fun. Should be some good spots. And then we got Ishii, Yano, and Ospreay versus Omega, Ibushi, and Takahashi.
Okay.
The Golden Sleeves?
Yeah,
I was hoping you'd say that. I was waiting for somebody to say that.
Like, that was just really odd for me. Like,
Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, and Yujiro Takahashi.
It's not easy.
You don't see every day.
It's not easy being sleazy. Our main event on September 8th is Tanahashi teaming with Juice Robinson versus Okada and Beretta.
Hey, Trent's back.
That'd be a good match.
Mm-hmm. And then finally on September 9th, from Chiba at 4 a.m. Eastern, we start with Yota Tsuji and Yuya Uemura.
Okay, that's the Young Lions, right?
That's another Young Lions match, correct?
Yes, those are Young Lions.
Okay.
Then we move on to Elgin, Yoshida, Umino, and Narita versus the Tongans and Ishimori again.
Ooh.
They must really be trying to make that a team.
Seems to be. Then we got Goto and Gedo versus Taichi and Despi.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I can
Better
deal with
team than
Taichi and
Taichi
Despi.
and
I like that.
Kanemaru. Better team than that, yeah.
Yeah, at least 3 out of 4 people in that match are decent. Depends on which 3 you think, but either way. Followed by Naito, Evil, Sonata, and Bushi versus Suzuki, Iizuka, Kanemaru, and Michinoku. So there's your Kanemaru appearance for this card.
That's a fun match for a Road 2 show. That's going to be a fun match. LIJ versus Suzuki-gun. I mean, Kanemaru aside, you've got some characters there from Suzuki-gun, and everybody in LIJ is a character. So for a Road 2 show, that's going to be a fun match.
That's going to be a brawl. That's going to be all over the place.
Mm-hmm. I want to see how many shots Mizu throws and how many he gets thrown at him.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Tanahashi and Hanare versus Okada and Yoshihashi.
There's a bizarre team. Tanahashi and Hanare.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming.
So I guess Hanare, once again, is not a young lion, or maybe he is, just not this week.
He's a young old lion.
No, that's Oka. Oka's the old young lion.
Which one's the roid lion then?
That's, what is his name? Kitamura?
Oh, right,
yeah,
right.
Kitamura is the roid lion.
But where's he at?
I don't know, is he on the shelf?
I'm wondering if they went on an excursion.
Maybe he's on excursion. I'll have to look
I don't know if
into
they're on
that.
excursion. We know that River People is on excursion in Mexico right now.
Right, Kawhi.
Mm-hmm.
So then we
Hirai
got,
Kawato's down in Mexico.
yeah, we've got Ishii, Yano, Beretta, and Ospreay versus Omega, Ibushi, Takahashi, and Chase Owens. So, golden, sleazy man bun?
We're still calling Chase. Even though Chase grew his hair out, we're still calling him Man Bun.
He's golden man bun.
That's a fun chaos team right there. You've got Yano and Ishii who are, good in their own right as a tag team, and Yano's got his antics. But then you throw in Will Ospreay and Beretta into the mix, and Beretta can call himself heavyweight, but he still wrestles the same. So you've got some interesting junior heavyweight guys there, former junior heavyweight who can go that style. You've got Yano who just does his Yano thing, and Ishii who just kills everybody.
Well, it depends on if this tour, if Yano's going to be by the book wrestling Yano or back to his old dirty tricks again.
It's a Road 2 show, and it's a multi-man tag. He's going to be up to his shenanigans, I would think.
Yeah, I expect old dirty Yano is dirty and stinking in this match.
Okay.
Main event is Nakanishi, Tenzan, Nagata, and Kojima versus...
All of the uncles.
Yes, versus Makabe, Honma, Robinson, and Finlay. Once again, no Kokeshis, Honma, none.
Why is David Finlay in the main event?
They threw him a bone?
That's a good question.
No.
Why is Togi Makabe in a main event?
Because he's a former IWGP heavyweight champion.
Yeah, that one's justifiable. I don't know, though, about Finlay.
Yeah, why is he in the main event? Why is he in the main event and not Chase Owens? Huh?
I have no good answer to that, so I can't.
But it's good to see the uncles all back there, because we haven't seen them in New Japan in a while. It looks like they're coming back for like the end of these Road 2 shows right before the Destruction show's proper takeoff. So maybe we'll see them in some action going forward here.
Something to look forward to then. So that's our Road to Destruction shows on New Japan World this weekend. The best 999 yen you can spend, because not only do you get to watch these shows, you can watch past New Japan World shows, and you can watch All In.
In English.
Yes. That was my cheap plug, Will. What about you?
As usual, catch me every week for the rest of the Nerdcast right here on the AngryMarks Podcast Network. Great shows coming up. We have All In Star Marco Sut coming up in the next couple of weeks. Jordan, also another All In show very soon. Follow me on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and support indie wrestling.
Indeed. And Jason, what do you have to plug?
I plugged it at the beginning of the show, but I'll plug it again. The Canadian Football League, CFL.ca, the non-fascist football league. Great football game last week between Calgary and Edmonton. If you missed that one, check out the rematch in Edmonton this Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Go on Reddit, search for CFL streams on Reddit, and you'll find a link to watch it live. I've already plugged New Japan World. I'll plug my cooking blog at veggiebending.wordpress.com. You can check me out on Twitter. I'm at Great Sudoku. And check out all the fine podcasts here on the Angry Marks Network.
Yes, and before we go, I'll also say a shout out to C.W. Smith for taping Impact Implosion tonight, because I'm on my way to a Fozzy concert. So shout out to Chris Jericho as well. And that's going to do it for Thursday night AMP.